The story is set in the years 1981.
A young girl named Riley.
I wanted to cure my mother, so I went to the city, find any way to make money. Riley lives with her father,
Grandmother and 3 brothers.
at a house on the outskirts of the city. Their background is extremely difficult.
Money is enough to survive the day.
Riley's mother is Magoli, a woman who used to be a famous CA,
But now I have a strange disease.
made her lie in bed. When you need something, we'll use the bedside bell to signal.
Riley has found every way to make money. But my medicine money's too big.
They didn't manage in time. My brother's name is Tony. I also had to sell my motorcycle.
My favorite. My father is 7.
I intend to sell the house to cure his wife's illness. It started one day. Riley is at home.
I heard the bell in my room.
The girl walked in.
I saw her constantly ringing the bell.
His face looked up at the corner of the room and was terrified. He seemed to have seen something scary. Tony went to school that night. When I got home, I heard the bell ring. Your mother came in and brushed her hair.
I can see that the hair looks very thin.
Suddenly, the back window suddenly opened.
Tony just went to close. I turned around and saw my mother opening her eyes, staring out the door. It was late when everyone went to bed.
Then Bree heard the bell upstairs. Tired of stepping up to check,
I found my mother looking out the window.
Riley didn't understand why she was able to walk.
I found my mother lying in bed. His hands kept ringing the alarm bell.
The woman is standing at the window.
Slowly turn your head.
Riley woke up and realized it was just a nightmare.
Suddenly, I heard the bell upstairs.
I walked out and found the living room, just like before.
Upon entering the room,
Riley saw a woman looking out the window.
but this time it was her mother.
She fell down and died. The face is open to both eyes. It's like seeing something. The mother's funeral quickly took place.
With the grief of family members,
At the funeral, the director, the church was also there to mourn. He has a son named.
Henry should have taken the initiative to talk to her. Riley is not in the mood right now. Just a few days after the funeral, my dad announced he'll be in town for a few weeks to find a job that helps to cover a living. He told Riley and Tony to stay home. I have to take care of my 2 brothers and my grandmother.
But as soon as he left,
Then that night,
the house began to experience strange phenomena. Tony is sitting alone in his room, listening to the radio.
suddenly the bell in the mother's room rang again.
Tony felt strange and went to check it out. When I just opened the door
Suddenly I saw the bell in the middle of the room.
and fall down,
You panicked and ran away.
until morning Tony, though worried.
But I didn't tell you last night. Before going to school, he even gave it to his brother Panda.
It's a special camera. You can see different images in there.
After Tony left, Riley is alone at home cooking and taking care of the kids.
The house is now only yours.
As I walk past the mirror in the bathroom,
Rindy noticed that there was a reflection. But when you look back, it's gone. While my brother sat outside. Enjoy, look at the pictures inside the camera.
suddenly a scary woman appeared.
Startled the boy, he threw the machine. That night, Tony turned on the radio again.
I listened to music and tried to close my eyes. Suddenly I heard it inside the radio. Let out a woman's voice. Sounds like a mother who just died.
Tony didn't understand.
Suddenly, a ghost appeared next to her.
I told you to brush your hair. Tony turned on the light and the ghost disappeared.
Meanwhile, in Panda's brother's room, he slept with his younger brother Iron. That night, both of us suddenly got pissed.
Let's go to the bathroom and solve it. However, when I returned to the room,
Through the hallway, there is a picture of the deceased mother.
the 2 kids have long been afraid of this photo, so he took a blanket and tried to cover it. However, when the blanket was thrown out,
And suddenly it's covered in something in the middle of the air. Suddenly, the thing threatened the 2 of them. Scared Young wants to piss our pants.
Riley heard the scream and ran over, but now everything is back to normal. The next day, Henry came to the house to take Riley for a walk.
He said that he had long ago.
He was able to see the souls of the dead. On the day of her death at the funeral, he saw a woman dressed in white.
Stand behind the crowd.
Days after passing by Riley's house,
He saw the woman at his mother's window.
at first she thought it was Ghost and Naguni. but Henry felt like an evil spirit.
She's wearing her face. He's worried the house isn't safe.
Riney's family should go to their house. However, the girl gently refused.
He said he would wait for his father to return.
They both talked.
I don't know if I'm at home right now.
My grandmother is in danger. It's like she saw something. The face looked very scared. Until Riney comes back.
I looked around and couldn't find you. She told her brother Bandy to find her.
I heard the boy screaming in the bathroom. Riney ran in and was horrified to find her.
When did you fall into a death well? 2 consecutive deaths make the whole family extremely second gods.
Panda's brother also fell ill later that day. Riney cleaning her grandmother's room. I saw a letter she had written on the table.
She wanted to send a letter to a man.
Bujiman was curious to know what was inside.
Riney asked Henry to take her to the city.
To meet this man named Bujiman.
They then arrived.
The man claiming to be Riney's grandmother and I are old friends.
Before she died, I wrote this letter to you.
I hope you find a way to help your family.
Escape the scourge. Bujiman later told the story.
Some 15 years ago, MOM of Riney Grandma Magani.
When she married her father months later, she was still pregnant.
There was a lot of talk coming in.
But then one day, she got pregnant.
She then gave birth to I, Riney, with 3 younger brothers.
Grandmother, she suspects,
that Mawani went to help. From a mysterious cult dedicated to demons.
Satan to have children.
Riney didn't believe these words.
Before leaving, Bujiman gave her a note.
He wrote about the church he studied and advised the girl to be careful. If anything happens, always remember that
love can drive out demons.
After returning home, Riney saw her brother Panda. Something different than usual. In the rice, the boy looked at his youngest brother in Iran with an eerie look. Iran couldn't sleep that night. I looked over the candy bed and saw my brother closing his eyes. Talk to that AI no.
Iran turned its face to the wall. Suddenly, I felt something behind me.
When I turned around, Andy was standing in front of me. Fortunately, he just stood there for a moment and went back to bed.
Iran suddenly peed and went to the toilet alone. As we walked down the hallway, the boy heard a noise behind the door.
Just came to open it. Suddenly, the ghost of my grandmother appeared.
Iran is afraid to flee, but the shirt unfortunately got stuck. The grandmother's ghost then slowly approached.
The next morning, Riney woke up.
I tried playing a record of my mother's music.
The girl feels something strange. When trying to play back the music, the sound turns into a devil's prayer.
Satan makes Riney very afraid.
She then went to her brother's room.
There's no I don't in the bed.
Riney ran around the house looking for her. Finally discovered, the boy is sleeping in the dumpster outside the yard. Tony came to see Riney that afternoon
and talk about what's written in Bujiman's paper.
After reading it, you know that the price to pay when a person is born is essay.
To be able to have children, that's the youngest child is 7.
They will be captured by the devil. Tony recognizes the siblings. They're all 6 years apart. The mother did not want her child to be taken away by the devil. They keep giving birth to more children.
My son will never be 7 years old.
Tony then said that their mother may have joined the cult of Satan. You often see groups of strangers. They often appear at parties, organized by the mother. KI sect. Maybe he was very angry.
When mothers are constantly giving birth to circumvent the law, that caused her to contract a strange disease and die. There are only 3 days left.
Iran's youngest brother will be 7 years old. Tony was worried about what would happen to the boy. Riney though, I don't even believe what is written in the article,
and leave immediately.
While cooking rice in the kitchen,
suddenly Riney heard her grandmother moaning. The image of her suddenly reflected in the mirror.
Think she hasn't escaped yet.
She went to the priest for help.
He went around the house to check.
Riney should regularly worship and worship.
Listen to him. That night, the girl in a traditional outfit, sitting in the house performing a blessing ritual, but from outside the window.
Suddenly, a woman dressed in white appeared.
She was right behind Riney when she blinked. The girl feels something. When I turned around, she was sitting right in front of me. The shirt suddenly moved on its own.
Riney panicked and tried to run away.
The woman slowly approached. Give the devil a look at the girl. While in the bedroom, the band's brother sees his grandmother's ghost again, standing at the head of the bed. My younger brother, I don't. The whole family was scared at night.
He had to run to the priest's house to stay for the morning.
The next day while talking,
Suddenly, I got a call from Bujamin. He said he had something to give Kuraini. He advised me to stay home and take care of them.
I will go to Bujamin's house,
After arrival, he handed Henry a letter.
and whispered something in his ear.
Henry was shocked to hear it. I quickly brought the letter home.
However, on the way,
Suddenly, there's a stranger in front of the car. Henry was surprised and did not deal with it in time.
made him crash into the truck.
Run in the opposite direction. The accident killed Henry instantly. The priest learned of his son's death. It's very shocking. The body was brought home.
The letter in Henry's hand fell to the ground.
Riney saw it and put it away.
The poor young man's funeral was over.
Not long ago,
That very night,
Riney looked out the window outside the forest. There was a man who looked exactly like Henry. Suddenly, something pulled the girl's hand out.
Tony and his two brothers were able to escape.
In desperation, the father arrived in time. He announced that in a few days,
The whole family will move to the city. That night, I took Iran's youngest brother to pee. I didn't want to go alone, so I asked Andy to go. But when he's standing in the toilet,
suddenly the door closed.
hear a scream. The father immediately rushed to break down the door.
They discovered that Iran was being dragged down a well. He's not afraid of danger. He jumped down to save his son.
They quickly left, without knowing that what pulled her down was her grandmother's ghost.
Looking out at the forest behind the house,
The family discovers a mysterious group of people are standing all around. They're members of a mysterious cult. The father immediately ran out curtaining.
to get rid of these people,
However,
they just stood there and threw something on the ground.
right now in the house, my grandmother's wheelchair suddenly moved. Go where the whole family is. Things are flying around everywhere. In times of chaos, father with two older children was trapped inside the hallway.
There were only 2 kids outside the living room. Suddenly, my grandmother's ghost appeared. I want to drag Den away. The boy tried with his hand to grab the door.
Andy, after a moment of fear,
I had the courage to run to my brother.
just like Bujamin said, with love, the whole family will defeat the devil.
The next morning, the father and his children took the time. Pack your things and move to the city.
Bryony then goes out to the yard to check where the people in the church stood last night.
There are strange red seeds in the ground that they left behind. The priest and then come over to the house to say goodbye to everyone. But it's getting dark.
They still didn't see any trucks coming. Today is Iron's 7th birthday.
The father was waiting until midnight for his son's birthday. Suddenly, the whole house lost power. Greenie suddenly remembered a letter that Bujamin asked Henai. Send it to me when you open it.
When I finished reading, I ran over to Tony. Then out.
The truth about Satan is still incomplete.
When the youngest was 7 years old, not to be sacrificed, he will become the son of Satan. That's why my grandmother's ghost keeps coming back.
But only refers to each Idontin. The letter also notes that on the night the 7-year-old,
The zombies will come to take it away. Right now,
they both heard their mother's bell in the hallway. When she opened the door, she was startled to discover her zombie.
standing right outside, Baldy is in the room.
Suddenly, Jan was looking out the window.
The boy then put on a scary smile and slowly left.
Gaudi looked out the window.
I was surprised to find two zombies standing there.
The priest was asleep in the living room. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. When it just opened,
In front of him was the body of his son.
Henry rose from the grave towards the sleeping father upstairs. Suddenly, I saw my wife's body.
He's lying right next door.
Afraid, he ran through the children's room. Take them all down below the living room. When it just arrived,
They found the priest full of blood.
he fell to the ground and died on the spot.
The father ran outside the yard looking for a gun,
I saw the boy standing with the zombies.
happy to wave hello.
You know there's nothing else you can do.
The whole family ran into the barricade. The zombies then connected, banging on the door trying to get in.
They're moving from the cemetery to the east,
My grandmother's body also appeared.
trying to block the door.
In times of crisis, Gaziman showed up in time. Get your family in the car to get out of the house.
At the end of the movie, they moved in.
Living in an old apartment in the city.
There are many good people here.
Regularly through the food and confectionery. Greenie happily accepted the gift without knowing that.
It's people in the satanic cult.
They followed the whole family here.
What is the plot behind it?
Let's wait and see in the next part.